So today, we're going to dive into the core ideas from the Headspace Guide to Meditation and Mindfulness. This is a book by Andy Puddicombe, who used to be a Buddhist monk, and his whole mission is to make these ancient practices actually work for our crazy modern lives. And you know, it doesn't start with a moment of peace. It actually starts with a moment of pure desperation.
Yeah, the book kicks off not with calm, but with this scene of a full-on escape. Puddicombe is perched on this 12-foot wall in his pajamas and flimsy sandals, getting ready to jump from a monastery that had started to feel more like a prison.
So you have to ask, right? How on earth did a Buddhist monk end up in that situation? Well, to understand that and to get why he eventually created Headspace, we actually need to rewind a bit and look at the very relatable problem that got him started on this path in the first place. See, long before he was a monk, Puddicombe was just a regular university student, and he wasn't struggling with some huge, dramatic crisis. Nope, it was something way more common, a mind that was just constantly, relentlessly busy.
I mean, does any of this sound familiar to you? He described it as a washing machine just going round and round in his head. His mind was always on. He felt like he was just at the mercy of his feelings, completely blown around by them. And on a bad day, he said it literally felt like his head was going to explode. This wasn't some deep spiritual crisis, it was just the everyday battle with mental clutter.
And that feeling is just perfectly captured right here on the book's cover. It's a great visual for that constant buzz of thoughts, notifications, and to-do lists that creates all this chaos inside our heads. This is the exact state of mind that Puddicombe wanted to do something about.
And get this, when Puddicombe went to his university advisor and told him he was leaving to become a monk, the advisor's suggestion was for him to try Prozac instead. And that reaction just highlights this huge common misunderstanding, right? That we see the mind as something to be medicated, not something to be trained. But Puddicombe was convinced there had to be another way, a decision he calls one of the best he ever made.
So he goes off and spends 10 years training as a monk all across Asia. But when he came back, he realized that for most of us, the word meditation just comes with a ton of baggage. So his mission became really clear. Strip all of that away and present it as what it is, a simple, practical skill.
And to make it practical, he knew he had to tackle our preconceptions head-on. You know, he argues that meditation isn't about wearing loincloths and chanting on a mountaintop. It's not religious, it's not just for hippies. His whole goal was to reframe it as a secular tool, a skill that anyone can use to cope with the pressures of modern life.
And this was his big aha moment. He realized that people were desperate to find a way to relax, to feel less anxious, to deal with stress. They wanted the benefits, getting some perspective, sleeping better, but all the traditional spiritual packaging was just a huge barrier for them.
Okay, so to make this practical, we first have to get two core concepts straight. People use the words mindfulness and meditation like they're the same thing all the time, but they're not. And understanding the difference is absolutely crucial.
Let's start with mindfulness. So think of this as the goal. It's the quality of mind you're actually trying to build. It's the ability to be right here, right now, without being totally lost in your thoughts. It's about really experiencing life as it's happening instead of through this filter of constant mental chatter.
So if mindfulness is the skill, then meditation, well, that's the exercise. It's the formal practice you do to build that mindfulness muscle. It's just like going to the gym to train for a sport. Meditation gives you the perfect, controlled conditions to learn and strengthen your ability to be mindful.
The book uses this perfect analogy to explain it. When you learn to drive a car, you don't start on a 6-lane highway during rush hour, right? You find a quiet road, an empty parking lot. Meditation is that quiet road. It's the ideal place to learn the skill. Then mindfulness is taking that skill and being able to drive on the motorway of your busy everyday life.
So what's the whole point of all this practice? What's the ultimate outcome? Well, Puddicombe doesn't really call it happiness, at least not in the way we usually think about it. He calls it headspace. And this is a really important point. Headspace isn't that fleeting emotion of happiness that comes and goes. It's something deeper, a more stable sense of well-being. It's that feeling of being okay, even when things are really difficult. It's a kind of contentment that exists underneath all the surface-level emotions like sadness or anger or even excitement.
And maybe the most accessible part of this whole approach is the time it takes. This isn't about needing hours and hours sitting on a mountaintop. It's built around one simple idea, just 10 minutes a day. That's it. Little and often is the whole key to making it work. And this isn't just some fluffy, abstract concept. There's real science here. The book touches on neuroplasticity, the idea that our brains can physically change based on what we do. So just like lifting weights strengthens a muscle, regular meditation can actually strengthen the areas of your brain tied to well-being and focus. It's real, tangible mental training.
And all of this leaves us with one final really powerful question. We all accept that we should exercise our bodies to stay healthy. Puddicombe's whole argument is that our mind, which is the lens through which we experience our entire life, deserves at least the same amount of attention. So why wouldn't we give it just a few minutes of training each day?